Good evening, afternoon or morning. Movie Cat is at the microphone, and today I will tell you about the cult melodrama, Pretty Woman.
Tell me how to get to Beverly Hills?
Sure. For $5.
Powerful businessman Edward Lewis arrives in Los Angeles to complete a deal to acquire a major shipbuilding company. At the same time, Edward has a discord in his personal life because his girlfriend complains about the lack of attention. However, she refuses to fly to Los Angeles to keep Edward company. On the phone, they finally quarrel and break up. Leaving a business party in the Hollywood Hills, he takes his lawyer's car, a very expensive and difficult to drive sports car. Having set off without his driver and also not knowing the way, Edward drives through the evening streets of the city. Meanwhile, in one of the less prosperous neighborhoods, a provocatively dressed young girl named Vivien goes to a nightclub with her neighbor Kit, who is relaxing there with her pimp. Vivien scolds her neighbor for spending the last money buying drugs, so now they have nothing to pay for the apartment. Both girls work as prostitutes. At the entrance they are arguing with another competitor girl for the territory. Not far away, lost Edward asks a tramp how to get to Beverly. Having almost dealt with the manual transmission, Edward accidentally stops at the entrance to the club. Having noticed an expensive car, Keith recommends that Vivien charge at least $100 a night. Vivien gets into Edward's car just to show him how to get to Beverly. Edward learns that Vivien is well versed in cars and offers to continue the journey, putting the girl behind the wheel. Upon reaching Beverly, Edward invites Vivien to keep him company for the night. In the room, he asks the girl not to hurry, but to start a little chat. The girl learns that Edward is afraid of heights, so he does not even go out to the balcony. Vivien also shares her innermost. A kiss on the lips is very personal for her, so she does not allow herself this with clients. Edward is a real workaholic. While the girl is watching the movie and drinking champagne, Edward is sober even now and works on the phone, learning the current quotes on the stock exchange. Vivien gets fed up with this and seduces Edward. Later, the man watches with a smile as the girl sleeps and then continues to work on. In the morning, at breakfast, Vivien learns that Edward is buying up companies that are in financial difficulty. For example, now he is thinking of spending $1 billion on one of them. Edward's lawyer, Philip, recommends going to the next meeting with a girl because Mr. Morse respects family values. Edward asks Vivien to stay with him for the rest of the week and accompany him as a girlfriend. Vivien asks $3,000 for 6 days and 6 nights escort. Additionally, Edward promises to fund Vivien's clothes change to make her look like a high society girl. Shopping doesn't work out very well. Vulgarly dressed Vivien is simply escorted out of an expensive boutique by local saleswomen, who are openly saying that the girl can't afford everything here. Later at the hotel, the receptionist, worried that a prostitute is walking along the corridors, intercepts Vivien. However, having learned that she is a girlfriend of the esteemed Mr. Lewis, he decides to settle Vivien's problems. He arranges for her to buy a cocktail dress through his contacts in expensive stores and gives a small lesson in table manners. Evening comes. Fascinated by the magic of so strong changes, Edward takes Vivien's arm and they ride to meet Mr. Morse. Meanwhile, a table meeting with the head of the corporation that Edward wants to buy takes place in a tense atmosphere. James Morse, the patriarch and the company's founder, and his grandson David are not at all ready to accept the fact that their company is going to be bought for nothing and sold in parts. Only Vivien's spontaneity smooths out the conflict raging at the table. After the meeting, Edward tells Vivien that he will be leaving for a while and will be downstairs. Not waiting for his return after midnight, the girl goes down herself and finds Edward playing the piano. Later they have sex on this very piano. On the second day, Edward takes Vivien shopping by himself. Later, a luxuriously dressed Vivien enters the very first store to take revenge on the saleswomen who kicked her out and to prove them that she can afford a lot. Afterward, Edward and his lawyer discuss the nuances of a deal for Morse's company. Philip wonders where Edward has been missing for so long and what kind of woman was with him at dinner. Edward only replies that they almost don't know each other. On the third day, Edward takes Vivien to a polo match where he wants to talk with an influential senator. Vivien makes a big splash among those present. Everyone is interested in Edward's new girlfriend. His lawyer, Philip, suspects that Vivien is David Morse's corporate spy. He draws Edward's attention, how Morse greets Vivien and shows his horse. Then Edward reveals frankly how they actually met and who Vivien is. Later, Philip approaches Vivien and cynically suggests to arrange an intimate meeting for money once her work with Edward is over. Humiliated and furious that Edward revealed their secret about her profession, Vivien wants to end the arrangement and leave. Edward asks her not to leave. He apologizes and admits that he was hurt by Vivien's attention to David Morse. The girl stays. The next morning, Edward gives in to an impulse and, influenced by Vivien, takes a day off. They spend the whole day together, walk in the park where he reads her favorite poems, wander around the city, dine at a pizzeria. In the evening, Vivien breaks her rule for the first time and kisses Edward on the lips, treating him not as a client but as a lover. Then, thinking Edward is asleep, Vivien confesses that she loves him, but Edward overhears her confession. The next morning, Edward invites her to continue their relationship after their agreement expires. She will leave the panel, he will rent her an apartment, and they will meet from time to time. Also, she should not think about money, he will pay for everything. Vivien refuses, explaining to him that he totally changed her but still offers her to remain a prostitute. Just very expensive one. Edward admits that he can't give her more. Later, Edward, along with his team of lawyers and financiers, goes to meet Morse's team. However, right during the negotiations, he asks for a personal conversation with his opponent and unexpectedly offers him cooperation. The company can be cleared of debts and make money not on bankruptcy and its sale, but on the construction of ships on a government contract. After this conversation, Edward leaves the meeting room, leaving Mr. James Morse to tell the details to the others. Upon learning of this, Philip, furious at the collapse of the deal, goes to the hotel to raise a claim to Edward, but finds there only Vivien, blaming her for the failure of the deal because of a bad influence on Edward. He slaps her and begins to harass her. Edward appears, hits Philip in the face and throws him out of the room, and at the same time out of his life. Vivien is upset and decides to leave early, without waiting for the 6th day. After the morning explanation, she is embarrassed to stay with Edward, and he lets her go, handing over $3,000, which will help the girl start life from scratch. All night Edward thinks about Vivien and his life. In the morning, he heads to the airport with the driver who took earlier Vivien to her home. On the way, he asks to change the route and goes to her. Meanwhile, Vivien is packing her things to leave town. She hears the horn of the limousine and sees Edward, who, overcoming his fear of heights, climbs the stairs towards her like a handsome prince in the tower to the princess. Thank you for watching. For more videos, please press the finger up, write comments and subscribe.